Yeah. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you remember where we were at?
yeah, I do.
There's a lot of
I know.
points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. So, I was with Sundance Resorts. And like I said, I'm a big collaborator, right? I love collaborating with people. I don't see it as a one solo show. And back in the day, that's when we first discovered, avant-garde cuisine, right? Where, that was before YouTube, that was before Instagram, that was before anything, right? We just had Google. And we were closed twice a season. And I would one of the first season that we did it, I think we did it 2 seasons in a row, 2 or 3 seasons in a row, where that's when we first discovered Jose Andres.
Our idol, right?
I
The
love
good
Jose
part.
Andres.
I was gonna say, right when we were talking about our idol. Speaking of Jose Andres, World Central Kitchen is in Del Rio right now. Did you hear about what's going on in Del Rio?
No, I did not. Please
It's
inform us.
about 16,000 Haitian immigrants that came across the border and are in Del Rio right now seeking refuge. I need to do more research on how they exactly migrated to Texas from Haiti, but it is quite a crisis actually, and World Central Kitchen is out there right now. So shout out to Jose Andres and World Central Kitchen. I would love to work with them in the future. That would be quite an
100%.
opportunity.
All right, this one wasn't my fault.
No
It's all
worries.
good.
We could see it's the internet on your.
Is it on my internet?
It looks like it, but now you're 10-10, so we should be good to go. We
Okay.
talk about Jose Andres. We were just talking about how amazing he is.
Yeah, he's the man. That's when we first discovered Jose Andres, and I started reaching out to them, and I asked him if we could, myself and 3 other cooks can go and stage for him. So he took the invite. We staged, and we had one of the best times in Washington D.C. Welcomed us with open arms. I mean, we worked at OML, we did Zatinia, we did Jaleo. I mean, we did the whole shebang, right? The whole tour. And that's when it really opened my eyes of cuisine and the skill level that I wanted to achieve. I mean, I was already an executive chef, but I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And so, back and forth, a couple seasons we would go back, we would fly out there and we'd go stage for them. And their wine director actually came to Sundance and had dinner, and I cooked her this meal. And one of the dishes that she still remembers was braised pork belly with the smoked tomato fennel jam and brioche toast. One of the classics, right? And we twisted it up for us. She was really impressed by it, and then we stayed in touch. And she told me, she saw, hey, this is when the Cosmo was opening up. And she told me, hey, Jose's going to bring a couple restaurants to Las Vegas, and this is when I was in Utah. She said, why don't you go for it? So I applied and, went through the whole interview process, worked, stayed out there, did my tasting, which is pretty fucking nerve wracking, especially when you're doing tasting for Jose Andres, right?
Yeah, for real.
Even to this day, I'd still be nervous sitting next to him.
Do you remember a couple dishes that, you were nervous in presenting and they went spectacular?
You know what? To be honest, it's still a blur. I still remember, him coming in and looking at my dishes and looking at me and walking away. I don't remember really the dishes that I cooked for him, because I wasn't going to try to do anything that they were doing, right? To say, hey, I can kind of keep up. I just cooked my food from what I remember, just my food and what it is. And I think, sometimes it could be where, he's seen that energy that I was, really like super excited, even just to be considered. And, plus, the wine director kind of vouched for me. So it was kind of one of those things where, she knew my talents, she's eaten my food. And so I think I just, was really lucky, and I'm, really thankful for that opportunity. So I got invited to join the opening team for, Chino Poblano and Jaleo. And, and the culture in DC was so welcoming. So, it was like, man, this is the spot. Think Food Group is my home, right? They paid for me to move out to Las Vegas. They took care of me. And, one thing about Las Vegas that I learned really quick is that it's a cut cutthroat industry. It's a cutthroat area. I mean, I'm sure New York, LA is like that, but I was pretty much sheltered in ski resorts, Utah ski towns and stuff like that, where everybody kind of took care of everybody. Cooking in a major city, Las Vegas, whatever. I think it was very cutthroat. In all honesty, I lasted a year with Think Food Group, but that was the best and the hardest year of my life. When we were opening up the Cosmo, I worked probably like 37 days straight, 12, 14 hours. I mean, I still remember, Jose is a very passionate person. If you guys watched him on TV, he's no different on TV than he is in real life. He's very passionate what he does. He expects excellence. His team is phenomenal. They're with Aitor and Ruben Garcia and all those guys are phenomenal chefs. They have a high standard of excellence, right? And they expect that in everybody, and I'm all for it. Like I said, I opened up Chino Poblano, Jaleo. I stayed with the team. That's when I was able to learn a lot as far as more management, more corporate management. And it just didn't work out for me in Vegas. I think if I was in DC, it would have worked out very well with me, because the culture was different. Because the people were different. In Vegas, it was very cutthroat. It's like everybody wants your fucking job. I mean, that's the thing. And I was too much of a collaborator and wanting to make sure the whole team is involved, rather than it's my way or the highway and shit like that. So like in hindsight, I didn't last. I didn't make it. I didn't make it, but I don't regret not saying it, because it brought me to my next position where I was at, because I was really unhappy there in Vegas, and with Jaleo, Chino Poblano. I was fucking miserable because of the culture. It had nothing to do with Jose. It had nothing to do with his team. It just had to do with the culture in Vegas at that time.
Right, that food scene, yeah.
Yeah, the food scene. So, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say I didn't make it. I wasn't, a Think Food Group graduate, and stuff like that. And where I reached out to one of my other mentor chefs who we worked together at Sundance. And I'm like, hey man, I go, McDonald's is going to be good for me right now. I just need out. So he introduced me to somebody at MGM Grand. I interviewed. Best thing I've ever done, because that's where it kind of leads to where I'm at right now, right? And I interviewed for that. I didn't know what the position was. I thought it was just going to be somewhere in the MGM Grand. And, I pulled out, I had 3 interviews. I had to do 2 tastings, and they were the best fucking tastings that I think I've ever done in my life, because I put my whole heart and soul in it, right? When they kind of told me the position, he's like, are you down for, fine dining restaurant? I'm like, yeah, I'm your fucking guy. I was like, this and that. And so that's when I got the opportunity that, I got hired for the mansion at MGM Grand. I was executive chef for the mansion at MGM Grand. If anybody knows, it's one of Las Vegas's best kept secrets, right? It's not Robuchon at the mansion. It's like right next door. So it was the Filthy Rich. I mean, if anyone's seen my Instagram way back in the day, it's, R&D for S&G, hashtag Filthy Rich. I mean, we fed people that, that crap money. They're filthy rich. That's why that hashtag is there, right? We were putting gold flake on burger buns. I mean, we're just like feeding everybody. One cool story is, Caviar setups, where we had this really rich guest, and their kid was probably about 8 years old, or Caviar. And the butler told me, he's like, kid you not, chef. He just gets that jar, opens it up, licks it all up, and he says, I want more. Like that was their snack. Caviar is their snack. That's how. And it's wild, man. I mean, there's a lot we can go for 3 hours talking about the mansion life in Las Vegas. It's pretty wild. Yeah. But, for me, the reason why, now we're at the mansion MGM Grand, where I was able to have the opportunity of a lifetime for cooking for one of the world's richest people. I cooked for a bunch of celebrities, one of the top ones for me, back in the day in my career, I'm jumping back and forth. I apologize, but if we're going to have the topic of what is the most famous person you cook for, because chefs get asked that a lot of times. For me, my highlight in my career, there's a bunch of highlights, but for me, cooking for somebody, there's 2 people. One was at Sundance, with Anthony Bourdain. He came in, roasted a whole pig. We did a whole dinner for him. I mean, it was. I shared a beer with him.
I saw that picture on your IG. I was going to ask what that experience was like. Yeah.
Oh man, I get chills, man. Like after sitting down and having beer with them at the bar for a couple hours, that solidified the way I wanted to be a chef, right? A collaborator, more of like, it's just fucking food, man. It's like, he would, just like he was in TV, that's how he would talk. And that was one of the best experiences for me to cook for him. If that's anything, name dropping, it's fucking Anthony Bourdain. I cooked for him. He was really cool, like really humble, super tall, super tall. But he was cool. We roasted a whole pig for him. We did a bunch of simple stuff. We didn't go, because we asked him, what do you want? He's, I love pig, man. He's all right. So we got him a whole pig. We roasted a whole pig. All of us were giddy. We're like little kids. It's like, holy shit. We're, don't shit the bed, guys. Fucking Anthony Bourdain.
Right.
But
No
that was a very
pressure.
no pressure. But he was so cool, man. He was like, I still remember, having that moment with them, sharing the beer, and I don't drink, and I'll drink a beer with you. I don't care. But I don't really drink. So that was cool. But back to the mansion, I mean, I think the best, person that I remember from my career is because that's how I got started in my career was Emeril Lagasse. I was able to cook for him. I cooked him lunch, and it was a cool moment. We sat down, and I actually sat down and talked to him and because of him, this is why I'm in this industry. And he's another humble person, man. He was really cool. And you could see it when I told him the story and how I got in this industry, and because he was one of my influences, of being a cook, because we're all cooks. He was like really like taken back, like he was really honored by that, right? And so that was one of the cool things for me.
Wow, talk about some heavy hitters cooking for Anthony Bourdain and Emeril. That's a lot of young chefs' dreams, and that's definitely something special to hold through.
Yeah, for sure. And and cooking at the mansion, I was there for about 6 years before I came over here where I'm at right now. And that's when I met Travis. He came across. You know him. And my chef de cuisine, Jose Rodriguez. I mean, those guys, the three of us. If you look back in my IG, and you just see the three of us together all the time, we're cooking. That was probably my best experience as a chef. I mean, that was my last experience as a working chef in an operation, right? I left, quote unquote, at the top of my game, right? I left the mansion and I became, a corporate, chef consultant to where I'm at right now. But the mansion is where I really was able to develop cooks, dishwashers into cooks into sous chefs into executive chefs. And Travis is doing very well right now at a local restaurant. He's bounced around a little bit, but that guy's super talented. Jose's running right now night market in Las Vegas, and the old Hard Rock, which is the new Virgin Hotel. I got a couple cooks that have done very well for themselves, and it's because we all collaborated. We all took each other's strengths and exploited them. And with all of us together, we didn't really have any weaknesses. So we did a lot of great food at the mansion. It was probably the best times, one of the best times in my career. Everybody has one, but at the mansion, it was probably one of the raddest times that I've had.
That's awesome. Definitely have to check that out next time we're out in Vegas.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the fact that you talked about progressing cooks into sous chefs into executive chefs. We talk about it a lot on this podcast, that there's not a lot of chefs out there who are still looking to grow people. And I think that's a very special skill that a lot of chefs kind of need to evoke and really focus on, is how do I grow my staff? And at the end of the day, and you can attest to this, when you grow your staff, when you put that time and energy into your staff, your day-to-day becomes so much easier. You don't have to worry about the little things. You don't have to worry about making sure the mise en place is there, or the labels are on items, or sanitation standards are being met. When you put that time and energy into your staff, they're going to put that time and energy into what they're doing, making sure that they're working hard and they're looking good for you. And I think that a lot of chefs nowadays really are losing sight of that. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because we talk about it a lot on this podcast, but I don't think it can be said enough.
Yeah, and like I said, man, it's it's the old brigade system too. I mean, you need everyone in order to be successful. Nobody does it by themselves. If you say you do it by yourself, you're full of shit. You know, even to this day now, where I'm at now, I can't do anything by myself. Technically, I do everything by myself because I'm the only chef in our division here. But I still need the support of others to help me get through what I'm going to get through, right? Because when you're developing cooks into chefs or dishwashers into cooks, because you're still learning from them, you're learning how to be a better chef through them, like one day back at Sundance, we're all slicing, tomatoes in half, cherry tomatoes in half. And sometimes on a fast-paced environment, more like in a gastropub or, like a grill, you really don't need to slice the tomatoes up. You just need to cut them, right? And this dishwasher, he had some paws. I mean, I'm a small dude, he had some paws on there. And he goes, "This is how you do it, chef." Put his hands down with all the cherry tomatoes down and got a slicer knife and just went, and I was like, I learned, we always have to be open to learning, and, and that's how you're able to develop yourself as well as others.
Yeah, until that slicer slips through and now you're kinky. That's definitely a talent. Yeah. I've seen it done before with like a hotel pan, like holding a hotel pan and then going through. But I grab my Perry knife and I cut them in half every time. I'm too nervous to try the other methods. But like you said, you're being open to listening. You're being open to learning, and you're actually using your eyes and watching, and not just shutting down and being like, oh, okay, no, this is how we're going to do it. I tell my cooks that all the time. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. We're all going to skin the cat differently. As long as the end product or the end goal is met, then I'm okay with us doing it that way. But as soon as, the food quality isn't there, the ticket times are taking longer than they need to, okay, now we start to do it, this way, because I know this way is going to work. But you always have to be open to what your cooks want, because, something as simple as I'm left-handed and my cooks are right-handed, it's going to be a totally different comfort level if your mise en place is set up, your salts and oils and your butters are down low to the left. Well, for a left-handed chef, that's great. But for a right-handed chef, he's, crossing over every single dish pickup. So it's incredibly
I feel your pain. I'm left-handed, so I feel your pain, man.
There you go.
We see things the right way. Everyone else is backwards. It's like we see, so I feel your pain. Absolutely. And if I may, at the mansion, like I was very fortunate, to obviously work with Travis and Jose, because, I'm sure if anybody that follows your show knows who he is, super fucking talented. I mean, I could have sworn I probably fired him 3 times, and stuff like that, because we would just butt heads all the time. But super talented, and he made my food better because he had a different eye, but he was also the pit bull in the kitchen. And then my chef de cuisine, Jose, he was more that soft-spoken, kind of let things get away, but not really. But Travis was our pit bull. He was like, if I wanted to have the bad guy, I'd be like, Travis would be the bad guy. It'd be cool like that. So all the cooks kind of hated him, but they had to respect him because super talented, super creative. And, if I told him this is the way I want it, he would make sure that shit was the way it was, even if he would have to be the bad guy. Right.
Right.
And, and like I said, without a good team, without them having your back, you're screwed.
100%. And, as we kind of continue down your life stories, so you're at the mansion, you kind of, riding this high, you said that you sort of transitioned you into this, food fanatic chef. What is a food fanatic chef? What is that title?
So the title comes from, which would be my company, a Food Fanatic Chef, which is a chef program, which is we're there to help support our customers, which is our customer base. We're a broad line or distribution company. Most chefs are like, oh, I buy from small companies, this and that. But you're always going to either have the blue box or the green box coming in, right? Of those guys. So we're the better of the two, because I'll be a little biased about it, because I think they're a chef-driven company. because we have probably about 56 other Food Fanatic chefs across the country, for each state, either one for each state or two for each state, whatever. And we're there just to, like what a chef does, we're there to help develop people. We're there to help people make it, be successful, because, owning a restaurant and running a restaurant is two different things. Owning a restaurant, if you're a chef running a restaurant, you don't really got to worry about the back end stuff. But owning a restaurant, like the small operators that own and run the restaurant, it's a hard life, right? So as long as we're there to help them and help support them, and as long as you support us, as far as you're buying stuff from our company, I'm an amenity. I'm there to consult. I'm there to help with your food costs. I'm a third set of eyes to actually walk in the operation and try to pinpoint out with our experience, to see what pain points they might be having. Because as an operator, you're just tunnel vision, right? You're just, especially in today's times, especially in today's times with COVID, pre-COVID operators probably had it a little bit easier. You know what I mean? Not that it wasn't hard, but during COVID, once COVID hit, I mean, you guys know it hit that restaurant world hard, and it still does, right? So we're there to help these problems. We're here to help them solve these problems together. And that's one thing that I really do love about what I'm doing now. Like when I was at the mansion, developing cooks, stuff like that. Right now, I'm helping develop operators be better than they were yesterday. And that's my job, is to walk into your restaurant, have a conversation with you, figure out what your pain points are, and try to find a solution for you. Is it something that you might be using the wrong tomato? We don't know. We have to open up that box, right? And actually look at the problem and analyze it. And, I do everything from, like I said, food costing, menu development, staff training, and sometimes, you'd be surprised. Some operators don't even know how to clean their fryer properly. So those are the things where I help. I mean, am I going to help the strip chefs? Am I going to help those, really high-end chefs, that are running these really good operations? No, not really. I'm here more for the mom and pops, the people that, oh my God, I've always wanted to own a restaurant, and that's kind of one of the things that, hey chef, how come you haven't owned a restaurant or bought a restaurant? I'm like, dude, no way, man. That's too much. I've seen it all. Yeah, no, I'm cool, man. I'm cool, but I'm here to help anybody that wants the help, and that's what I am. I'm a consultant for the company. I'm a valued partner for our customer base. But even then, I mean, whoever wants help, I'm here to help. That's what I'm about. I mean, there's really no ego with me, not anymore. I think I've grown into this person where, I just want to help people, and, helping them through food. That's one of the best ways I can do it. If I can teach you how to dice an onion better than what you're doing, if I can help you saute something faster and help that make that dish a little bit better, then I've done my job, right?
There you go. There you go. That next transition.
Mm-hmm. And also, in a way, I think you're controlling kind of the food scene also in those areas, since you are offering them certain things that you see are working for people that, and then different. Just that's a really, really awesome job, and it's really incredible what you're doing for the small and mom and pop shops, because that's what that's been the hardest part of the industry, is that a lot of those guys don't have the cash flow of a year or plus, and COVID's been ongoing, and there's a lot of ways to smartly cut your menu down and cut your food costs, and then there's ways that people are might make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of clientele over it.
Yep. And people are human. Sometimes they scream they want the help, and you come and help them, and you give them that roadmap. Like, okay, if you do this, this is going to help you out, and you have that data to prove it, right? Like for me, one thing is oil, fryer oil. Like, it's so weird. I really geek out on that stuff, because there's certain, people are like, oh, let's just use the commodity oil. It's blah, blah, blah. It's, $10, whatever, this and that. But then when I'm presenting something that's a little bit more of a higher quality, they're like, oh my God, the sticker shock, right? But when you show them the data of look, as long as you take care of your oil, like some people don't even skim their oil. They don't even drain their oil. They just, till it gets black, they drop it, put new oil in. Like, dude, like seriously, you're gonna go ask them how many days you get out of this? Like 2.5 days. Like, whoa, if you did this, skim it, and filtered it and stuff, you're probably going to extend it by 3 days and you're going to save X amount of money. And I show them the data, like their eyes light up. Like, this is the small little steps that you do. And once they start doing it, like they like, all right, cool. Like, hey, I can trust this guy, and that's what it's about, is developing relationships. I walked into, especially over here in southern Utah, where, Utah's a different beast. People have a different rhythm out over here. And this guy was, just bleeding money. And myself and my counterpart walked in and we looked at all his P&L and, his P-Mix report. And we're like, okay, have you costed your menu? They're like, what? And we're like, that's number one. So I gave him like a list and I gave him, some things of what he needed to do. By the next day, he costed his whole menu out. He was so floored, and like I didn't sleep on it, slept 2 hours. And after this conversation, now he's got 3 restaurants, based off that one conversation, and he's printing money. So, for us as a company, as a big company, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be helping people, because it's all going to come back in the end, and that's what I really do love about my job nowadays. The things that I miss about it the most now is banging, working with my cooks and, getting in the shits and doing all that stuff. But now it's like, I have a different feel where I'm still helping people, but I'm doing it in a different way, right? I'm doing it like at a 30,000 foot level instead of like, right on the front lines, and I'm
Right.
touching like a whole bunch of different people instead of touching 5 cooks or 10 cooks that I have on my line. I'm touching a whole bunch of people. And that's one thing I really dig about the job too.
I love that.
The hours are good too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that explanation on what a food fanatic chef is. And I think that, that is definitely something that a lot of young cooks out there can kind
noble
of see.
position to have, I feel.
Yeah. And they can kind of see a different avenue to take it. Like you said, you don't have to always be banging it out on the line. Once you put in that work, once you get that effort, there's other opportunities out there. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. Before we have you leave us tonight, I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about what you have going on personally, a little bit about your personal brand as well. I know that we kind of talked a little bit before the podcast, but, what is Fit Chefs? What's the mission there, and what do you kind of hope to bring to the public with that?
It's Fit Chefs. Like I said, it's a shame I haven't been really too active on it lately, which I'm getting back into it. You guys are helping me inspire it, so now I got to start living it right.
There you go.
But this started probably about 6 years ago. I was between 6 to 8 years ago. I mean, I wasn't always that. I was always an outdoors person. I wouldn't say I was fit, but I was always active, right? when I was in Vail, I snowboarded all the time, and everything like that, right? But there was a point in my life where it was hard for me to tie my shoes. Okay. I didn't have the mobility. I had the Ethiopian belly. I'm a thin person, but it would always show my belly from all the Red Bulls, all the sodas, and all that shit that cooks usually take in, right? And I just woke up one day and said, that's it. Prior story before too is, I was a secret recovering drug addict from back in the day. I was able to do it on my own. I recovered and stuff like that. But, with Fit Chefs, it was more of how I created it, and I created it with a buddy of mine, Eric Lahire. We started Fit Chefs as more of a social support community for chefs that want to live a healthier lifestyle, want to live more of an active lifestyle, because the stigmata of chefs are, rock and roll chefs, right? Smoking cigarettes, doing dope, drinking after work, going to the bars and stuff like that. And we kind of wanted to put a different light on chefs where we can be pretty active. We started out with Tough Mudder, Spartan racing. I was really active on that. I mean, I did it for probably about 3 years straight, traveling Western United States racing and stuff like that, and we're fit chefs, yeah, rock on, stuff like that. But it's basically just a social support community for chefs. There is chefs out there that want to get healthier, want that support structure, and that's pretty much what it is. I mean, we made some T-shirts and stuff like that. Is it a business? No, it's like a social media support structure for chefs. I mean, it's would it be cool if it would be like True Cooks and stuff like that, for fit chefs? That'd be pretty badass, but you got to put in a lot of time on that, to do that. Chad's doing a great job on that.
So Chad playing no games over there with the True Cooks team.
Plays no games, man. Super talented too. I mean, so but like I said, it's more of a social community support structure. Like right now, personally, I mean, I've done, since all that started, we, race Spartan race. I've done a lot of adventure racing, survival run in Nicaragua. I've done that a couple years. Raced a 100-miler, 50Ks, 70Ks, mountain races. My last 100-miler, did a pretty good job where I got a sub 24, which is for a 100-miler. That's a pretty damn good job. You get that big old belt buckle. I raced mountain bikes. I'm still, getting into that, racing mountain bikes, ultra running, trail running, adventure racing, rucking. I mean, I think as chefs, we always need some sort of outlet to burn that energy off. And for me, I think personally for like adventure racing, you always got to have a task, and chefs are really good at multitasking, and we're really good at being in the shits. You're in a dark place, as a cook, you're like in the shits, you're in the weeds and stuff like that. And so same thing with adventure racing, you're in the shits once the gun starts, right? The time's against you. And so I think chefs, if they play with stuff like that, they would feel a lot of comfort being in those dark places where you're just suffering. Chefs are glutton for punishment, man. I mean, we just for some reason we like getting in the shits. If we're not in the weeds, we're like, all right, I'm gonna get myself in the weeds, see if I can get out. You know what I mean? So the cooks are, natural cooks are like that, So fit chefs, like I said, is a social support structure for chefs that want to be active and be in the community, and we're just there to support. We're not that big of a thing.
I think it's incredibly important. Like you said, the stereotype is the big old fat white chef, and it's like that doesn't have to be the norm. We don't have to be unhealthy. We don't have to not take care of ourselves. I've gone on a fitness journey myself after graduating high school, and I continue to run to this day, and I've been back at running lately after my surgery on my leg, and it's like you said, it's just it gives you that release. We are in such a high energy, high stress environment that sometimes we as chefs, we need time just to be by ourselves and to like exhaust ourselves. And it definitely is helpful being able to, focus on a task at hand, whatever that might be. And our competitive nature, being able to do a race or a challenge or, anybody out there, I don't have an advertisement with Strava, but I absolutely love Strava as an app.
Strava is life.
Yeah, Strava is life changing.
Yeah.
It is awesome to be able to connect with people and have that little competition with yourself and with others around you. And so, like you said, it's a great release, and I love that you're advocating for that. And we will definitely look for more Fit Chef content, and posting. And how do people kind of get in touch with this community that you're starting to grow and have been building?
We're just on IG. We're just under Fit Chefs and IG. Usually the hashtags are either like, athlete chef or fit chefs and stuff like that, so people can find us out that way.
Perfect.
I promise I'll be more active that way, in the community and stuff like that. But it's a good thing to be having certain goals. Like my next goal coming up is racing one of the hardest 100Ks out on the west side. Zane Gray 100K. It's like really rugged. Stuff like that. So that's my next goal. As far as an athletic or fitness goal, it'd be cool to do another 100-miler, but I've got to find the right one. I'd really like one that's pretty rugged. Mountain races I really do like a lot. From being in Colorado for a while, I didn't really take advantage of that. In Colorado, other than snowboarding. So that's, that'd be one of the cool things to do. But yeah, find us at Fit Chefs on IG. It's just a small page. nothing really to write home about. But I think, if you look in the content, it's got some meaningful content. Where, I'm pretty genuine.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Vlad, do you have any other questions?
Well, yeah, actually, interesting one. We usually wrap the pod with 86 and kind of the meaning of that. But since you're in the industry and you are, in the distribution part of it, have you seen recently, a lot of things being discontinued or 86 and certain, hoops and hassles that are kind of arising because we did have, COVID and whatever that could have impacted in terms of products that we're getting or availability or the quantities that were once demanded then were not demanded later and then now are demanded again? How's that kind of played out in your day-to-day juggles?
A lot of the day-to-day juggles. One thing I do want to point out, ever since I stepped in this side of the dark side, right? The distribution side. I didn't, one thing I do want to point out is that, your TMs or your sellers, the people that sell you your boxes of food as a chef, right? They have to go through a lot of hoops, man. I mean, I didn't realize it until I came on this side that they not only got to deal with your attitude, your personality. They got how many other accounts, like 40 other chefs that they got to deal with and they got to juggle. Not only that, their corporate initiatives that they got to juggle. And that's just one person just trying to sell you a box of tomatoes. You know what I mean? So when I came on this side and I realized that what they were going through, it really made me appreciate them more because they fucking work their ass off for the chefs, and I didn't realize that. I felt I've always treated those, my sellers pretty well, but there was some that I laced, man. Like you gave me a rotten tomato, fuck this place, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Yep.
Okay, chef, we'll take care of it. One thing with that and with the poultry market right now, it's nobody can really get wings at, it's ridiculous, right? So just
6
find
ounce
alternative.
skinless, boneless breast is a rare
Man.
phenomenon. Yeah, exactly.
Clipped tenders, it's can I just get you regular tenders? No, I want clipped tenders. So it's well, okay, a lot of the poultry market, it's volatile. Everything sucks for everybody. Not only that, the labor market. Cooks don't want to work for a toxic work environment and shitty wages anymore. You're really not that badass of a chef if you can't really find that many cooks that want to work for you. Because like I said, they don't want to work for low wages and they don't want to work in a toxic work environment. So just be good, be engaging your staff, take a vested interest in their success. That's the only thing I can leave anybody with is taking a vested interest in their success because their success ends up being your success.
That's
100%.
perfect.
I love that. And we're going to wrap the pod. Thank you so much, Chef Jesse, for coming on the pod, sharing your culinary journey. And we're going to be tuning in and showing lots of love and continue this relationship.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate that.
Yes, Chef Moreno, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing everything with us. And it is awesome to kind of hear your voice. Like you said, the quote unquote dark side of the industry. We're here, though, to get the stories from every single side. And I appreciate your insight and kind of showing us, a different path out there to take and one that seems quite fulfilling. So you never know. Any young culinarians out there who are listening, check Chef Moreno out. Fit Chefs, more content coming soon. Stick with those goals, guys. It will pay off in the end. I know it's difficult, it's hard, but stick with it.
Thank you,
everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.